then begin our reading of Jaiva Dharma. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe Radha Madana Mohan Radha Jaya Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe Jaya Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Vinod Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Vinod Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Vinod Bhakti Vinod Thakur Bhakti Oh Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Sai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhavika Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Rishabhanandini Vajeshwari Radharani Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Satchinandana Gaudahari Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Surabhi Kunj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Param Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Baladev Vidibhushan Gaudiya Vedantacharya Ki Jai Jai Srila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bharadasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parasada Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haras Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikha Hol Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gaudamdvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritrudvip Janadvip Modamdvip Rudradvip Atmakanavadvip Dham Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dvarasavartmaka Rajamandal Ki Jai Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ganga Jamuna Tulsi Bhakta Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shrimati Tulsi Devi Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai Shri Punamasi Devi Yogamaya Maharani Ki Jai Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai Shri Ketra Mandal Ki Jai Sarva Vigna Vinashakaraka Shri Nishingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai Bhakta Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Charudam Ki Jai, Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai, Chari Acharya Ki Jai, Akara Mat Raj, Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai, Shri Keshav Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai, Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Agoda Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Omagina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Priya Surupe Dayata Surupe Prema Surupe Sahajabi Rupe Nijana Rupe Paprueka Rupe Tatana Rupe Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavaratino Kalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundaratu Dikatamba Sadipita Sadahradare Kandare Spadatu Vasachinandanaha Yam Pravajantamanapetyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Patara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Taravo Binidustam Sarvabuta Hridiyam Munimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanaravindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Paratram Tato Mamanasti Katina Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astol Tarasara Shishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astol Tarasara Shishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And I'm offering my prostrated Dandavat pranams unto Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varaite, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya and all the assembled Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhavevacha Patitanam Pavnibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. So, continuing with our study of Jaiva Dharma, and we'll again, as we will each day, recite some verses from this Falshruti composed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, capturing the very essence of the subject matter that we're going to dive into. He encapsulates the conceptions that he's going to present, and so many of the stanzas that he's quoting are this distinction between matter and spirit, nitya and naimitic, so and mayavad, brahmavad, and directing towards Krishna. These two conceptions, this duality of this world. So this is many of the verses, more than half the verses are simply on this one topic. It's the first lesson in Bhagavad Gita in the second chapter. What is the distinction between matter and spirit? If this is understood, really understood, and we really understood our actual identity as spirit souls, Dehinoshmin yata dehi komaram yovaram, we see the body is moving through different stages of life development from childhood to old age, but the soul is the same all the way. So this essential first lesson in spiritual life, the distinction between matter and spirit, is what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur really develops in all kinds of, especially in the first 12 chapters. The first 12 chapters entitled Sambandha Gyan. Who is Krishna? Who is the Jiva? And what is the nature of the material world? This is Sambandha Gyan. So from verse 11 today, Jaiva Dhamma-Pate Shura Bhakti Hoy, Jaiva Dhamma-Napadi Lekabe Bhakti Noy. One who reads Jaiva Dhamma with faithful deliberation will surely attain Shura Bhakti. But one who does not read Jaiva Dhamma can never attain Bhakti. Very powerful statement, because within Jaiva Dhamma are all the Shastras. Like I've said each day now, all the ocean contained in the, like in a jar, in a pot. So all of Shastra, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was so erudite. It's very inspiring when you 4 sets of books facing, and he just has to spin it around to get them all. Shastra, remarkable. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur lived in Puri, he had access to an enormous library. Would regularly study all the books in that library. So he shares all of this with us through these teachings of it's the assimilation of all these teachings contained within Jaiva Dharma. Rupanuga abhiman pate drita hoy, Jaiva Dharma vimukake dharma hine koi. Faithfully reading Jaiva Dharma, faithfully. He said the word faithful in the previous verse also. Faithful deliberation, faithfully reading. With nishtha, not contentious, not challenging. Understanding, yes, this is the absolute truth. This is the reality. Understanding my own insignificance. Trinadapi sunichinoi. If we start from this premise, understanding how insignificant I am, when we understand how great is Krishna, we understand how insignificant am I, the jiva. So this is what creates our sambandha with Krishna, this mood. And then gradually we can purify that Aishwarya mood and come to a more loving mood, because it's the power of love that crashes the walls of Aishwarya. Thinking that God is the Supreme Personality of Godhead all the time will create a distance from the intimacy and delicate nature of my soul. My soul is very warm, vibrant. It's sweet, pure. So that relationship can be manifested in the realm of Raganuga Bhakti. But Aishwarya, there is some distance in that relation. But initially, we have to have that Aishwarya Gyan. First, if we don't have that respect for who is Krishna, where is Krishna, etc., how can we expect to have an intimate relationship when we haven't understood the groundwork? Sometimes we meet sahajis and they're a little like that. They try to just go crashing in on the most familiar terms with Krishna when they haven't understood the platform of Aishwarya. Aishwarya platform is like a mountain, clear mountain stream of water, so purifying, because the whole conception of my insignificance will become very prominent. And with my own insignificance, then the prominence, the significance of Krishna will accentuate. Faithfully reading Jaiva Dharma will surely strengthen one's abhiman as a Rupanuga. So we are Rupanugas. There's Rupanugas, Raganugas, and Ragatmika. These 3 words have to be clearly understood. A Rupanuga, Anuga, means to follow. We are following in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami took the essential teachings from Mahaprabhu, and he was able to capture the essence of Raganuga Bhakti, which is the only principal reason why Mahaprabhu advented. Mahaprabhu has advented himself to taste the Mahima, the greatness of Radha's love for himself, and the greatness of Radha's love, which bewilders him. He cannot understand why Sri Radhika embraces a tamal tree. How come Sri Radhika, when she can smell the fragrance of Krishna's body, she becomes completely her heart, mind becomes melted. It's called Divyan Maj. She goes into practically insane moods just by the fragrance of Krishna's body. And Krishna himself, who is the controller of all the worlds, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Matahar Sarvam Papatante, he is controlled completely by the beauty and sweetness of Radhika. The whole world is controlled by Krishna's beautiful flute playing, the whole world. And yet Krishna, he is controlled by the sweet love talks of Sri Radhika. So he wants to understand this in Radhika. There's someone who has more sweetness than I have. It has to be someone who has more sweetness than me to bewilder me. And this is Radhika, because she is like reflecting the potency of Krishna. Krishna is like the sun, and the Shakti is like the energy of the sun. So the sun is the Shakti, effulgence, is reflecting from the sun. The effulgence and the Shakti is totally dependent on the sun, but the sun is independent of the Shakti. Nevertheless, they are one. This is all discussed in chapter 14 of this Jaiva Dharma, Radha Tattva or Shakti Tattva. Very, very significant and important to appreciate this aspect. So Rupanuga are followers of Rupa Goswami, and Raganuga are those followers of Ragmarg. Now, my Gurudev explains many times that Swarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda, they are not Rupanugas. They are senior to Rupa Goswami. So they're not following in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami. Who is Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy? Lalita and Vishaka. Yes. So they are Rag Atmikas. Their Atma is soaked in Rag eternally. Rag Atmikas. So there's Rag Atmikas, those associates in the spiritual world. Also is described, it's not only in Vrindavan. Hanuman is described as a Ragatmika Bhakta. He has Rag fully in his heart for Ram, Sita, Lakshman. So he also is a Ragatmika. So Raganuga are those who follow the path of Rag. So Swarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda, they are Raganugas. We, following in the guidance of Rupa Goswami, are Rupanuga, Raganuga. We are both. And we are following in the divine footsteps of the Ragatmikas. So be very clear on these three terminologies. Very simple, not difficult if we just apply our mind to focus on if we write it down very clearly. Because it's like all of these truths are really like strengthening our platform to go forward. If our platform isn't secure, how will we possibly understand higher truths? If we just disregard it, oh yes, that's just terminologies, I'll leave that out. Then how will you actually feel confident going into a higher stage of consciousness? You will become uncertain. So these preliminary stages. So he's saying that by this faithful reading of Jaiva Dharma will surely strengthen one's abhiman as a Rupanuga. In other words, he's submitting himself, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, to Srila Rupa Goswami's teachings. Fully, fully, fully. Rupa Goswami's teachings are principally what? Radha Dasyam. This is what Mahaprabhu has come to give. He's come to give the jiva swa, that means own, bhakti, his own bhakti, shriyam, the beauty of his own bhakti. Anapita chirim chirat kurunai bharatanokalo samara payatam unnata ujvala ras. This unnata ujvala ras is what he is tasting, Krishna is tasting. But he's come to give this ragmag in the form of Radhika's beauty, swa, bhakti, shriyam. This is what he's come to give. This indicates manjari bhav. This is what it means, manjari bhav. Service to Sri Radhika. That bhav is an eternal sthai bhav in the heart of those sacred personalities, the manjaris. That's called bhav olas. That's a mood that is always there, like a sthai bhav for Radhika. If Radhika sends them to Krishna for Krishna's pleasure, those manjaris won't want that. They don't want that. They only want that seva to Sri Radhika. Palyadasi of Sri Radhika. This is a very, very, very deep, confidential subject matter. It cannot be understood. It can only be appreciated by us in this stage of our practice. Yes, we hold it high in reverence, and we take support of whatever scriptures and ever teachings will nourish that direction. Perhaps when we first became attracted to this path, we were hearing about Rasa Leela and the gopis dancing with Krishna. And we might have thought, yes, I want to be a gopi dancing with Krishna. But this is so selective. This is called sambhog, meeting, sambhog ichamai. This means they have the qualification to embrace and dance and even have conjugal relationships with Krishna. That's a specific qualification. We don't have that. In other words, you can't access this Sakhi Bhav at this period in history, because who is the Sakhi that you will get the inspiration from? Mahaprabhu didn't come as a Sakhi. Mahaprabhu is always Krishna ultimately. Rai Ramananda and Swarup Damodar, they didn't start a whole line because they knew that Mahaprabhu wanted to inaugurate this conception of Manjari Bhav, which actually takes the sadhak to the very highest taste of service. If Krishna is so enamored by Radhika, what about those Manjaris? How do they feel about Radhika? And the love that they feel towards her. So this is our Siddhanta. And he's saying here in this 12th verse, Abhiman as a Rupanuga, follower of Rupa Goswami, one who is averse to reading Jaiva Dharma is certainly devoid of religious principles. He's repeating himself from the previous verse. He just said, if you do not read Jaiva Dharma, you won't attain bhakti. And now he's saying, if you don't read Jaiva Dharma, you're devoid of all religious principle. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is so assured of the absolute reality of Shastra. And Shastra is claiming this. So he is boldly proclaiming it himself. It takes courage to proclaim these conceptions of Ragman, because the world doesn't really want to hear it. They want to hear about Dharma. They want to hear about Artha, Moksha, Artha. This is what they want to hear. What do our governments only speak about is economic development. Everyone is only rushing to attain this Artha. And if you're a practicing spiritualist, you're probably going for the Brahman. You're probably in that vein if you haven't had the fortune to receive these types of teachings. These types of teachings are absolutely sacred. They're so exceptional, the teachings, and they all emanating from Sachinandan Gaurahari through the heart and mouthpiece and pen of Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and most certainly Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the seventh Goswami. He's uncovering the holy places of Navadvip, just like the Goswamis uncovered the holy places of Vrindavan. No one else gave us the map of. That reminds me of an error in a typing mistake, not a typing mistake, but an error by the editors in all of our Jaiva Dharmas. The other day or yesterday, we were describing how Prem Das Babaji took Sannyasi Thakur across the Alakananda River. You remember this part? And across the Suryatila River is what is mentioned. Where's the Suryatila River? It does not exist because it's not a river. Suryatila is a mound in Nrsimhapoli. In Nrsimhapoli or Devapali, they're both the same. If you go to that Gandaki, it looks like a lake, but it's actually a river because it connects with Harihara Ketra. You can see it's the same body of water. And you look across that and you see just faintly now, practically gone with time, these mounds where the Devas built their palaces. There's Suryatila, there's Brahmatila, there's Agnitila, there's Indratila, there's Chandratila. All these personalities had their palaces across facing the Nrsimhadev. They were so enamored with the beauty of the Nrsimhadev, Thakurji that is there. But these hills have now gradually, so when Prem Das Babaji and Sannyasi Thakur were on their way to see Pradumna Brahmachari, they had to cross the Suryatila hill. So, Tila means hill, like we have Durvasa Tila, we have Dhruva Tila, we have all different kinds of Tilas in Vrindavan. Hills. Tila means a hill. So Surya Tila is a hill, not a river. So it's been written in all our editions, and I have to inform the GVP today, if I remember, to change that from, because when you write something, people will get that impression forever. Yes. So they'll always think there's a river called Surya Tila, because I wasn't even sure of where is the Alakananda River. Like where we're sitting in Surabhikunj, just behind us is, they call it locally Jalangi, but it's actually the Saraswati. This is the Saraswati River. And Ganga Devi, of course, is further to the west, where we are in Surabhikunj. But where is the Alakananda? The Alakananda practically doesn't really exist anymore. It's practically gone underground, so to speak. It's behind, if you understand the geography of Navadvip Dham, it's in the area of Naimisharanya or Madhya Dweep. We have Simanta Dweep, then we have Godrum Dweep, and then we have Madhya Dweep, and then we cross over the river to Kola Dweep. So on this side, in Madhya Dweep, in a place called Naimisharanya, which is just close by, but that river only comes up in the deepest monsoon time. When the rain is very strong, then that river can be actually seen in its previous form. At the moment, it's just a group of rice fields, rice paddy fields, but that's the Alakananda. So this was the journey that Pradumna, Premdas Babaji, and Sannyasi Thakur took. But it's not Surya Tila River, it's Surya Tila, the hill itself. That's just a footnote, what I just said. So, Java Jivane Jai Pade Jaiva Dharma Bhakti Man Se Jana Vrita Jnana Karma. One who faithfully, again faithfully, 3 times we've had faithfully in a row. Very nice. One who faithfully reads Jaiva Dharma throughout his entire life will be endowed with bhakti and will surely realize the futility of gyan and karma. So he'll be endowed with bhakti just by coming in contact with this Shastra. My Gurudev said we should read this Jaiva Dharma at least 108 times in our lives. Because I was commenting yesterday that I've read also many times, narrated and so many things, but every time I read it, I think I've never read this before. I never knew about Surya Tila until today, practically. My dear friend Bhaktivedanta Tapasi Maharaj was explaining, sharing this with me today. So, yes. And this is just the same as Srimad Bhagavatam. It's in the same category as Srimad Bhagavatam. It's ever fresh, like Naveen Krishna. Krishna is ever fresh. How can he be so intoxicatingly beautiful if he's not completely ever fresh at every moment? Radhika is the same. She's totally ever fresh at every... Otherwise, she couldn't intoxicate Krishna. She couldn't possibly... Krishna would get bored with her. It can't be like that. It's constantly refreshing, refreshing, refreshing. And if you have the vision of the holy Dham, and even of devotees, every time you meet devotees, it can be fresher experience when our vision becomes awake to all, because everything is evolving. Consciousness is evolving. We're able to appreciate someone's qualities more daily as devotees, because our own qualities through our practice are going to be uncovered. And with that uncovering of our own walls of anartas, then we're going to be able to see the sweetness and speciality of others more clearly, more fully. Realize the futility of gyan and karma. Yes, this becomes just like in the verse, Anya Vilasita Sunyam, Jnana Karmari Anavritam. This is describing what is Uttam Bhakti. Krishna Ramala Seva Labi Seva Seva Sukhe Magnanaha Sara Krishna Para. Such a man, being fully devoted to Sri Sri Radha Krishna Yugal Kishore, and having attained their Amal Prem Seva, remains forever merged in the bliss of such immaculate, loving service. It's an eternal path. You remain eternally in that realm, that kingdom of seva, service to the divine couple. So those are the last 5 or 6 verses of the Falshruti. So now we come to page 8, and I'm just going to refresh the previous paragraph because it was a very delightful paragraph. After the intense meeting with Premdas Babaji, when he was merged in the chanting of Harinam and meditating on Nishanta Lila. We were describing this yesterday. He was seeing, and then he calls out to Sannyasi Thakur, hey, your name is Raman Manjari. Stop that monkey making a noise and disturbing the divine couple. So, and the whole line was Ananga Manjari, Lalita Sakhi, etc., all explained. But now this last paragraph is very sweet. After uttering these words, Premdas Babaji fell unconscious. From that moment, Sannyasi Maharaj, now acquainted with his spiritual identity and service, engaged himself accordingly. Once you cross that line, that's it forever. If you try to go back into the shelter or apparent illusioned security of the material world that we've lived in all our lives, then we're going to lose that connection. Krishna will give us the mercy to experience different spiritual states. All the bhaktas will get mercy. But if you try to run back into your material, apparent, secure shelter of material thinking, then you're going to lose that. That's why courage is called for on this path. Courage and conviction. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is talking about faithful. Where is our faith? Is our faith more planted in this material world? We get a realization of some spiritual concept. Oh, no, that's too high. Let me run back to mummy. Let me run back to my home life, you know? Let me run back to that mentality like a baby. Right? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, it happens like that. So we have to have courage. And if we have association, then of course it's a lot easier to stay in those higher stages of consciousness. And then we'll go to a higher stage still, etc., etc. Thus the day dawned, and the morning light spread its luster in the east. Birds began chirping melodiously in every direction, and a gentle breeze blew. The extraordinary beauty of the Madhavi Grove of Pradumna Kunj, illuminated by the crimson rays of the rising sun, was beyond description. Why? Because transcendental exchanges had just taken place. So that evoked the transcendental aspect of nature herself. These types of experiences, they have an effect in the ether, without a doubt. It's like if you visit the yog pit, for example, and you place your head in front of the deities, if you're at all sensitive, you can sense the potency of that place. That was where the Supreme Lord appeared. There's a power there, like almost a magnetic pull on the consciousness. In the yog pit, when you bow down, offer obeisances there, that land was the place of Mahaprabhu's advent. So all his Shaktis, everything came to that land. These are eternal Shaktis. They have an effect on the environment. Don't doubt it. They have a tangible effect on the spiritual life is reality. We're so convinced and hardened. So we have to read more of this because this is going to describe exactly what I'm saying very nicely here. So I'm going to start from page 8 at the top. Paramahamsa Babaji was seated on a cushion of banana bark. As he gradually regained external consciousness, he began to chant Sri Nam on his beads. Sannyasi Thakur then offered prostrated obeisances at Babaji's feet. Sat next to him, and with folded hands spoke with great humility. Again, every single sentence that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing has a purport to it. It's not just a pretty story. He, with great humility, is going to approach his guru to inquire from him. If you inquire in any sort of challenging way at all, there was even a little clip that comes on the yes, Gaudiya Rasam today about not challenging Tadvidi Pranipatena, Pranipashena Sevaya. This verse my Gurudev was quoting. Don't come with a challenging mentality. How can you challenge the supreme absolute truth? That means you think you're better than the truth. Of course, the arrogance of any type of material success will obstruct us. If we think we've made some type of material progress, that I'm a very erudite scholar, perhaps, that's even material progress because it's comparing to other people. Our path is not about scholarship. Our path is about devotion, devotion in the heart. This is what it's about. So in great humility, Prabhu, O Master, this destitute soul wishes to submit a question before you. Kindly reply and pacify my anguished heart. In other words, he's saying, I must know the answer to this. This is a mood of greed. He's a mood of desperation also. He wants this question to be answered. And this question is so profound. This question we have to read a couple of times because this question is going to hold through for the next 2 chapters, basically. It's going to unpack this single question. This is the brilliance of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's crafting this Jaiva Dharma. Kindly reply and pacify my anguished heart. May you be pleased to infuse Braja Ras into my heart, which has been scorched by the fire of Brahmagyan, knowledge aimed at the impersonal absolute, devoid of form, qualities, and activities. This is Advaitavad. Sannyasi Thakur is following the path of Advaita, the path that was propounded by Sankaracharya. He's an Advaitavad. This is saying that everything is one. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva also says that we are one with Krishna, but one in service to Krishna. So it's such a subtle difference, really, this Advaitavad. This will come up more in the text. Babaji replied, you are a fit candidate. I was thinking this is very prominent also. You have to have confidence that you are capable of acquiring these higher states of consciousness. I can remember personally in my own life when I first came to my Gurudev, he told me repeatedly all the time, oh, you are most qualified, you are most qualified. He kept on, I didn't feel qualified even to pick up anything, to do anything, but he kept on this reassuring mood. You are qualified for this path. Don't doubt it. Take inspiration from my words to you. You're quality. He kept saying that again and again. So each individual soul has a different need for different encouragements in different areas. But this idea of having the confidence to consider that I'm a fit candidate. So Babaji is saying, you are a fit candidate. So whatever I'm going to say to you, I have the respect that you will understand what I'm going to say. So he'll speak to him the topmost knowledge, having said that he has respect for Sannyasi Thakur's erudition and his ability to control his senses. These 2 things. Whatever questions you ask, I will answer as far as I am able. So he's not saying confidently, yes, I can answer anything you say. You see, he's saying, as far as I am blessed to answer, as far as I as able. There's not a smell of pride. Unfortunately, today, with the sort of institutional backdrop, the various preachers or gurus, they sit on a higher stage and so many, supports for their importance. We put it on those people to make them feel very important. But that's good to make them, from our point of view, but there has to be some balance there if it gets out of control. We see when Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada first came, he would just sit on a very slightly raised seat, that was all. But when he left, the devotees had put these massive vyasasans built. And then that trend went forward. Yes, give me lots of glorification. I am Guru now. Bring me all your wealth, etc. This is not the principle of Guru. Guru is trying to give the wealth of his understanding of the Shastra. He doesn't want anything from this world. There's a difference. So whatever questions you ask, I will answer as far as I'm able. Now listen carefully, because I might read this paragraph twice because it's very important. Sannyasi Thakur said, Prabhu, for a long time I have heard of the preeminence of Dharma. On numerous occasions, I have asked the question, what is Dharma? To so many people, it is a cause of distress to me that the answers those people have given contradict each other. So please tell me, what is the true constitutional Dharma of the Jiva? And why do different teachers explain the nature of Dharma in such diverse ways? If Dharma is one, why don't all learned teachers cultivate that one universal Dharma which is without a second? So how many religions are there on the planet? How many individuals propounding their way is the best? You know, they fight about it. They kill each other for their imagined understanding of what is Dharma. But there is Sanatan Dharma, which is eternal. So this is what this is going to unpack and unfold. I hope you've all understood the question very, very clearly. What is Dharma? And why are there so many different opinions concerning Dharma? If Dharma is one, why does everyone argue about the nature of Dharma? So think about the question, please. So Paramahamsa Babaji meditated on the lotus feet of Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chaitanya. That's also very significant. If you ask a speaker a question and he doesn't give any type of Mangalacharyan, he doesn't give any type of prayer to indicate that he is praying to the Supreme Lord for the empowerment to answer the specific question, then it's just probably coming from his own imagination or his own opinion. We are transcendental vessels that can receive transcendental mercy from above. If we invoke that mercy in a sincere way, if we chant prayers, we always chant Mangalacharyan prayers before we begin, invoking the mercy of our Guru Vargya to allow me to be your instrument, not my own greatness. Such a distinction. And many times the devotees fall into the trap of considering that, yes, they know so much, they've read so much, they know so much. But that's unfortunate because then they're not depending on Krishna for the knowledge. Because every single question we're ever asked, in practically every instance, we've never heard it quite like that before. I can remember when I was traveling for many years, so many questions would come each day. And every single question had to be addressed individually. From whose heart is this question coming from? You should never ask a question because you've heard that someone else has a doubt. That person who might have a doubt has to ask the question themselves. If you try and represent somebody else asking a question, you're not going to get the real answer. There's going to be some obstruction in the flow. But if you have the question from your heart, then it can be cleared. You understand that? Meditated upon the lotus feet of Bhagavan Sri Krishna Chaitanya and began to speak. O most fortunate one, I shall describe to you the principles of Dharma as far as my knowledge allows. Now, listen carefully. An object is called a Vastu. Don't become confused about the vocabulary here. You have to write down perhaps 10 or 12 words to understand the language that he's going to speak. Don't think that the Sanskrit is going to cover the meaning of what Bhaktivinoda Thakur wants. There was another edition of Jaiva Dharma, and that before we had this one, and that translator had tried to translate all the Sanskrit terminologies, and it was so difficult to understand. I couldn't understand what he was saying, because when we get the Sanskrit terminology, like an object is called a Vastu, and if we learn what a Vastu is, there's no other word that means the same as Vastu. So when we hear this term Vastu and we use that terminology, it opens up a whole appreciation of the meaning of that. But if you try to translate it, it's going to be a shortfall. It's like with the Gayatri mantras. If you try to give a translation of the Gayatri mantras, you're going to try to fix them in a certain meaning. Those Gayatri mantras are evolving in our consciousnesses daily. They're not fixed. It's like love itself is not fixed. It's always moving. It's always ecstatic. It's always growing. It's alive. So these mantras, they are alive. And if we try to restrict them to a specific meaning today, and a week later when we're chanting them, we're thinking, and the consciousness wants to go broader on the meaning, then, but we keep running back to what was written down about the meaning. My Gurudev was very clear about this. Once I tried to write, because so many devotees would not hear the Gayatri mantras correctly. So I wrote down a whole sort of translation of all of them, and I gave it to my Gurudev and said, can I send this out for people to focus more on their Gayatri mantras? And my Guru said, never. You do like this and they'll think that forever this is the meaning of the mantra. This might be the meaning of the mantra for a year or two, but then the mantra has to evolve in our depth and appreciation of it. Understand? It has to grow. So like this, with these various terminologies, try to understand them in the Sanskrit vocabulary. An object is called a Vastu, and its eternal nature is its Nitya Dharma. Okay? A single object. A Vastu can't be broken down. A Vastu is like an element. An element can't be broken down further than its elemental makeup. So a Vastu also can't be broken down. You understand? Nature arises from the elementary structure of an object, ghatana. The elementary structure of an object, like nature, like you take a ball, for example. It has a dharma. The dharma of a ball is to roll. So its structure is round. Try to understand what it's saying deeply. There are many examples, but I should read on a bit more. By Krishna's desire, when an object is formed, a particular nature is inherent in that structure as an eternal concomitant factor. Just like the ball, for example. Its inherent nature to roll is built into its structure. This nature is the Nitya Dharma of the object. It's the eternal nature of that object. The nature of a given object becomes altered or distorted when a change takes place within it, either by force of circumstances or due to contact with other objects. This is the reason why there are so many contradictions on the meaning of Dharma, because people have distorted their impression of what Dharma means. They haven't understood the essential nature of Dharma, therefore they've interpreted according to their own taste. It's like religions, for example, all over the planet. You know, they have different rituals and so on, according to the country traditional customs that are there. And they develop those ideas of religiosity according to their environment. They're not adhering to the one Dharma. The principal Dharma is to love God. That's the principal Dharma that we're talking about. But it becomes distorted to understand who is God or what is God. they misinterpret it because they're not understanding, they're not educated sufficiently. The nature of a given object becomes altered or distorted when a change takes place within it, either by force of circumstances or due to contact with other objects. With the passage of time, the distorted nature becomes fixed and appears to be permanent, like our consideration, I am this body. This is a distorted impression of my real identity. I am a spirit soul more than I am this body. My spirit soul is residing within this body. But because of this distortion, I've started to think that I am the body by association with the body. This will be explained. This distorted nature is not the Swabhava. Swa means own. Bhav means nature. Swabhava, my own nature. This distorted understanding is not my own nature. It's been influenced by something external. In this case, the glitter of the material attraction has crafted this enjoying body. This distorted nature is not the Swabhava, true nature. It is called Nishag. This word we should know like we know the back of our hand, like we know the word prasadam. Nishag is a beautiful word because it means the distorted conception of my identity. Nisha, through association with matter, it's become distorted. You'll give an example. That nature which is acquired through long-term association. We've been in these material bodies for unlimited billions of births. So we've got this impression that I am material. It's a big enterprise to actually purify this material condition. We have to work diligently at it. This nishag occupies the place of the factual nature and becomes identified as the Swabhava. Try to understand every sentence separately, and then you'll catch it. Now I really want to read this next part, this next example. For example, water is an object, and its Swabhava is liquidity, right?
Yes.
It's liquidity. When water solidifies due to certain circumstances and becomes ice, the acquired nature of solidity takes the place of its inherent nature, which is liquid.
Yes.
If we understand that water has consciousness, there's been many experiments to prove that water has consciousness. If you speak to water and you have scientific instruments, you can bring out the impression that your language to water will reflect back. One Japanese scientist, he's proved this. If you say war, then a certain kind of mandala will reveal it. If you say love, another whole warm mandala will be revealed. So water does most assuredly have consciousness. So if you ask this block of ice, what is your nature? He will tap it very, very hard. Oh, I am hard. I am hard. Because of this acquired nature to ice. For perhaps billions of years, it's been an iceberg. So it's thinking, I am ice. But if a warm current comes, again, it'll go back to its liquid form. It's real Dharma. So it's become distorted. And this distortion is called nishag. Try to remember this word. And becomes ice. The acquired nature of solidity takes place and its inherent nature. In reality, this acquired nature is not eternal. Rather, it is occasional or temporary. We're going to call it nimitic. It arises because of some cause. And when that cause is no longer effective, this acquired nature vanishes automatically. When it's not cold for the iceberg and it's warm, the Swabhava will naturally reassert itself and it'll come again to be liquid. This is the most sublime example that we can share with so many people. It arises because of some cause, and when that cause is no longer effective, this acquired nature vanishes automatically. However, the Swabhava is eternal. Yes, the nature is eternal. It's still there. It doesn't go away. It may become distorted, but it still remains inseparably connected to its object, and the original nature will certainly become evident again when the proper time and circumstances arise. In other words, our spirit soul will respond to spirit environment. This is why, for example, it's so beneficial to reside in the holy dhams, even for a day or two or a week or three. And if we can organize our situations so we can reside here longer, because the effect of the environment, the spiritual environment, the impact on the consciousness will reveal and wake up our inherent swabhav, which is only Jivara Surupoi Krishnaranitas. The swabhav of an object is its nitya dharma, eternal function. Swabhav and nitya dharma, remember these terms. While its acquired nature is its naimitic dharma, occasional function. Those who have true knowledge of objects, Vastu Gyan, we talked about Vastu before, can know the difference between eternal and occasional function, whereas those who lack this knowledge consider acquired nature to be true nature, and they consequently mistake the temporary dharma for eternal dharma. I find that completely conclusive. If you read it carefully, I think it will also find it completely, it's complete, this explanation. It doesn't really need any other embellishment. It's full. So now a question. What is it that is called Vastu? And what is the meaning of Swabhav? So this is a good question. We'll go in this tomorrow. So we haven't covered much ground physically, but I think we've covered a lot of ground, laying a platform, a foundation to go forward. It's a serious, sober journey. And we need to be, we hear in Bhagavad Gita, matter and spirit constantly. We hear in Srimad Bhagavatam from different perspectives the same teaching. We're hearing with another set of terminologies, but it's the same principle of what is swadharma, what is pure dharma. This is what we're going to hear. It's fascinating. So tomorrow we'll read from here. So page 9. We'll carry on tomorrow. Jaiva Dharma ki jai. So I'd just like to share with you very briefly, today we got a beautiful little publication called Jaiva Dharma, and it's just an excerpt from this Jaiva Dharma of chapter 16, basically. The 7 questions that Brajanath is asking. Who am I? Why am I in this material world? Why do I have to suffer? These are riveting questions. So the devotees from New Zealand, they created this little booklet, and we just published it here in Calcutta. But I'm mentioning it because any of us in our home places, in our own countries, can take excerpts from these chapters. Like here in Bengal, I published these 2 little books. This one is about chapter 16 also in Bengali, and this one is from chapter 7, also referencing the same teaching that we've just been reading today. But these practically cost nothing to print, 10, 12 rupees each, and we can give them for free. The world, the globe, the planet is in desperate need of education. And I can send the PDF of this little book onto our WhatsApp thread today. And if any of you feel inspired in your own countries to print up a little copy like this, to distribute to the local people, to let them know what is the real function of what is my real purpose in life, having a body, etc. So this is our opportunity to render some service to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur directly. and render service to humanity, to try to educate them more. So this is just an idea of what we can do with our time and resources. So tomorrow we'll come back to contain what we've already heard. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. People here where we are now, we would prefer to have a kirtan at the end, but I'm always concerned for our time frame because I just want this hour as possible so that we can continue it for the next 6 or 8 months and keep going on it. So Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Vansha Kalpa Tarupyascha, Kripa Sindhave, Gauda Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.